The Graphic Artists Guild is where I really learned the business of graphic design. Everybody's always really focused on the aesthetics, and even like when you leave school, they're focused on the aesthetics, but the business of graphic design is a whole nother beast. And like I said, having people around you who've done it before makes a difference.
Look that up. There's 7.57 billion people.
Miami, Texas, LA.
Welcome to the Money Game Podcast. I'm your host, Dion, Pouncil, and today we have our first guest, my good friend, Yanique DaCosta. So, Yanique, please say hi to the Money Game family.
Hello, Money Game family. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited, ready to talk about the Money Game.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Yanique, for the listeners, first and foremost, tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, who am I? I'm all kinds of things. I am a, daughter. I am a sister. I am a woman, if you can't tell. I am also a business owner. I am a formally trained graphic designer. I am also an internationally exhibited fine artist. I am a bit of a nomad, and I'm just a person trying to, keep it together one day at a time while I figure out how to make the best of what I call life.
Understandable. Life is lifing, right?
Yeah, it's always lifing, man. It's always lifing.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay, you mentioned that you're a business owner. Obviously, this is the Money Game Podcast, so we'll dive deep into that. But tell us about your business, how you got started, why you got started, and what you're up to.
All right, so I own a design firm that saves time and money for corporate event planners, trade show marketers, corporate marketers, and then business owners with a corporate client base by providing them with the graphic design services that they need to create marketing assets to really allow themselves to stand out in whatever marketplace it is that they're functioning in. Now, how I got started is probably a really funny story. I'll give you the abridged version because I started this business in college. Like, I literally started this business in college in my dorm room, walking around with like a little DSLR camera that I had from just for classes for like kicks and giggles. And then kind of transitioned into a nightlife space where it really was just like I was going to all these parties because what else do you do in college, right? That's how you socialize. And I would be the person to open the party and close the party. Why? Again, I'm Jamaican. I don't know. That's just how we function. You have to dance to like all of the songs. And so as I'm there and I'm leaving, I'm like, oh, hi, I don't know, party promoter, club owner thing. Who does your marketing materials? This guy named John. I don't know. I'm just saying a guy's name, right? And I'm like, well, I could do the same thing that John does for like half the price and probably faster. Want to try me out? All right, cool. And so for a long time, that creating marketing assets for like literally like nightlife events was something that sustained my life. And I was doing that literally like out of my bedroom, on my bed, like with my one little computer, and it was paying for my little like penthouse apartment in Miami for a really long time. And I mean, that's not like a bad living when you're like 20 something years old. But then as you continue to like transition, you're like, all right, I might get tired of like going to clubs every night now to pick up money or even to socialize or to meet new people. So like, how do I transition into something that's more sustainable? And then I started actually branching out and taking that same portfolio that I built to create relationships within a corporate environment and utilize the same skill sets to solve a similar problem, but with a different aesthetic. And kind of like utilizing the same ability to just like be willing to just walk up to people and be like, hey, I can do a thing. What do you guys need? And then figuring out what's valuable to them, and then, figuring out what they're willing to pay for it and coming in like, all right, well, cool, I can do that too. And undercutting my competition. Horrible. I know, horrible. That's how it got started.
Nice. Well, first and foremost, I'm a firm believer that anybody who has a dream and is able to manifest that into reality, basically tapping into their superpower. So for you to be able to do it in college and then, grow it is definitely a testament to your unique character for sure. So okay, so you definitely struck your own path. Now, did you ever have a corporate job or 9 to 5 job, or you literally
Oh
built this
gosh,
from
yeah.
scratch and then just kind of elevated it to where you are now?
Listen, I am not unique in in the way that I really like function, right? Like there are times when I have like man, tired of these people, don't want to do this. People keep spilling liquor on me, like things like that. And going like, well, I'm gonna go get a corporate job. And then even in the same aspect, right? I never like threw the business away, right? Like it was still there in the background. And I was functioning more as like almost like a project manager. I was getting other designers to do the work, but I was keeping the client list and feeding it out to them. And then I would go to my 9 to 5 every day, and then it was functioning that way in the background. However, in working in corporate America, I had like some very interesting experiences. And I think I had been laid off maybe either like 4 or 5 times, like in like less than 3 years. And it's always funny when I tell that part of the story because it's like, well, she must be really crappy at her job. And that's really not even what it is. And I mean, I think I'm a pretty likable person. So I don't think it's because people didn't like me either. Because even after like I was laid off, those same companies that would lay me off would reach out and be like, oh, well, we have some freelance work. And I'm like, wait, so I keep getting laid off and people keep offering me freelance. So it's not that they don't like what I'm doing. And it's not that like I don't have the skill set to like add value to the company, but I'm just not coming from it in the right way. Like I don't want to be the person that's hired and fired anymore. Like I want to be able to control my circumstance and put some level of predictability to like how I'm getting income, right? Like, because it's traumatizing when all of a sudden you go from making like 150, which at the time, leave me alone, it was a lot of money in my head, again, 20 something, right? You go from making $150,000 a year to making like zero, or like, back to like $50,000 a year because you're sourcing everything out to other like designers. And it's like, yeah, I don't like this. So I was like, all right, it's time for me to take this like seriously and just like go all in. And going all in itself is like a gamble because, first of all, I probably skipped a really good part of like the origin story, which is I went to college for art, right? Like my entire formal education in the tertiary educational community is art. So we're talking about studio arts, drawing, analog photography. There was some graphic design in there and then a master's degree in media design. But that was like super traumatizing to my family. My family doesn't really do, and more so my mother than anybody else, like they don't do starving artist vibes. She's like, I sent you to private school your whole life for you to go to college and learn to draw. Have you lost your mind?
Right.
However, with that same education that she afforded me, I was able to go to college for $0. So there was no one able to control the choices I made because, I'm going into college with like all this scholarship money. I get to choose whatever the heck I want. Right? Like my grandfather used to say all the time, and it's a very weird thing. He used to say, without money, you're nothing. And he never really meant like you as a person had no value. But what it meant was because if someone else is controlling the purse strings, you don't have control over your own path, your own destiny. So at this point, I'm going to college based on the strength off my back. So I get to, do whatever the heck I want, which was art. It was either art or math. So
Yeah. So you bring out a lot of gems in there, and I want to unpack a lot of it for the listeners. So let's go back. So first and foremost, you bet on yourself young. You were using it to create a source of income, but then you still went and got a 9 to 5. The 9 to 5 didn't necessarily go as planned, but a lot of those things were not your fault, and you began to end up sourcing them as clients that then end up leading you to formalize your hustle into more of a business or a consultant. So that's very, very important, for people to pick up on. Is like, one, your gift will make room for you, right?
it surely will.
Especially if you kind of really believe in it. I'm a firm believer that you'll always win if you bet on yourself, right? So you bet on yourself, you won. Then you got the corporate job, maybe social pressures, family pressures to kind of,
Yes.
quiet them. and it didn't end up working out, and you went back into connecting the dots of what you're passionate about, right? So you were able to work on your gift, become very good at it, and then use it to make money. And then you were able to formalize it because people were actually willing to pay you, what you felt like you were worth, right? And then, you tapped into just being from different cultures, right? Different cultures don't play about certain levels of education or the type of jobs that you get. So how has that impacted you? Because I know I have listeners from all over the world. How has that impacted you from, like social norms or cultural norms or upbringings to having to, because it's already hard enough to be an entrepreneur, right?
Oh gosh.
And do those things, but then doing that on top of, coming from a different culture. How has that impacted you in, both positive and uncomfortable?
You spoke about kind of betting on yourself, and it's something I talk about all the time. And I've really had to lean into it even more now, right? Like just betting on myself overall, because I have to understand like what may be true for other people is not true for me, right? So when someone said to me, like I recently moved back to Jamaica, right? And I live in Jamaica now and I run my agency from Jamaica. My agency is like 100% remote. Someone was like, you're going to do what? You're going to move to Jamaica? There's no way you're going to be able to run a profitable business from Jamaica. Since I moved to Jamaica, I had my first 100K month. What's true for you is just not true for me. Like I'm here and I get to like hone in and fix and like implement the plan and like actually like see the vision, right? Because there's the goal, right? And then there's implementing the plan and like realizing the vision over time, right? Mm-hmm. But it's so important to like bet on yourself. But like running it back, right? It's so funny because you're right. Like it really was those like socioeconomic pressures and like family environments was like, like you already heard, like I've been working, at the house on my laptop for a long time. Like this is nothing new to me. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, I want to work remotely. Like that's been my life, right? So the discipline that people need to do that, it's like, I'm like, you guys don't know how to just schedule time in your day to work and then turn the computer off and then go live your regular life. It doesn't make sense to me. And I would always be criticized, especially by my mom. Let me not say, yeah, no, poor mother. It's gonna be her. She gonna have to take it for the whole family. But she would be like, all you do is lock up in the house all day. What you're talking about, your work, and that's not work. And it's like, but that's how I make a living. Like that's how money comes into my bank account, right? Mm-hmm. And we're talking about even a time where like I was like living with her, right? And she would be like, again, and if you know anything about like Caribbean parents, you need to come wash the dishes. And it's like, bro, I have a deadline. Like, you want me to come wash the dishes? Like I haven't even eaten yet. Like, why can't my brother go wash the dishes? Like, why? Like, yeah, but you're locked up in the room all day, not doing nothing, just up on the computer. And it's like, I have been on the computer, but I really am working. And a lot of that comes from like really having to be comfortable with yourself and in your truth. And like, again, bet on yourself. Because even when I'm like buying my mother $5,000 purses, she's going, you need a job. Like, what you mean that? So you think I just out here stealing money? Like, right. Where you think this come from? Like, did you think that was a knockoff Honey Check the Tag? Like, it's a very like strange thing, but you literally have to like just be confident in who you are, what you're doing and where you're going and ignore the noise. Your, family, they mean well, but like, they can only speak to what they know and what they've seen and what they're able to experience. And until they actually even see, and even when they see you do it, they still don't even know how it works. So they're just like, that's not their job.
It's interesting because we're in such a unique time. There's a confluence of events going on, like, remote work being more popular and accepted. Being an entrepreneur is cool and hot now, right? So you got that. Then you have, internet money just coming from different places, influencers and agencies and things like that, where traditional brick and mortar work or what, our parents or older generations are used to and seeing. But then also being a person who's made a ton of money off of, online businesses, sometimes psychologically for us, it can feel like you're not getting certain things done because everything is digital versus doing something with your hands or building a house or seeing it actually get developed. I've built multiple apps in the market. The MoneySkool is an app in the market and stuff like that. And so you see, the design phases and you see it come to life digitally. But at the end of the day, like it's an app or it's a computer program or it's something. So it's on the phone, it's digital. You're not really seeing it, feeling, touching it. So it kind of feels like you didn't necessarily really like accomplish it. You can't go like walk in the house. You can't go touch the material you might have created or sold. So all of that going on with the balance between the younger and older generations is always something interesting to see and to talk about. So you just had 100K month. So going from where you went, starting out on your college dorm room bed to, doing 6 figures a month and owning and running the agency and starting from scratch, like take us through that process, how you did it, taking us through the process of, mentally, and then, how you were able to do that, maybe with some practical things that the listeners could take away.
In my head, it's like, all right, well, that happened. Now we got to figure out how to do it every single month.
Get to the next
I'm
goal,
kind of
right?
like, all right, whatever. I don't want to get like, I want to celebrate the wins, right? But like, I really want to focus on like making them sustainable. And then even like getting to the next goal. Not that I'm like not the person who's going to celebrate. Like I probably like went to like 5 different parties after that. I was like, all right, I did the thing. All right, but time to work again. I guess if we like run it back a little bit, even like you were talking about not having like these tangible things, these tangible representations of success, right? Because even now, like I don't shop much anymore. Like I don't really have a lot of things. Like even in Jamaica, and people really and truly don't believe me when I say this. I drive a 1993 Toyota Sprinter in Jamaica. And like my neighbors will be like, Yanique doing all right? She hungry? And I'd be like, bro, I'm fine. Like it's just that I don't care to put like my financial resources in that thing because like that's not what brings me joy. I'm always down to like buy a plane ticket, like, be on somebody's vacation. Like I love a good massage and a facial. But the thing I was really able to like hold on to in order to like figure out like measurable success was like really just tracking these things in like on paper, like in an Excel sheet. Like, okay, well, I did this many phone calls this week. I had this many demo calls. I spent this much on ads and this is how much money came through the door. So sorry, that's like end result thing that I couldn't help but to touch on.
Sticking to the numbers, sticking to the metrics.
Because that's the proof, right? Like that's the proof that I have. Like when I can go into my bank account and be like, wait a minute, that's how much money I made today? Wait, I did the same thing like again and again. Wait, this is sustainable. This is a real thing.
Right.
But a lot of it really came from number one, surrounding myself with people who already did it. Right. And then learning from their success. That's like a really, really big thing. And I feel like even more so than a college experience, like college creates this really awesome ecosystem of developing relationships, right? To kind of like teach you to persevere in a certain way. But there's this thing that it doesn't provide, which is people who are like all like at a different level than you that you can like look to and aspire to. I mean, sure, you have your college professors, but like no knock to them. Some of them like, if you can't do, teach kind of vibes. So like, they're not all like out here, like, on sabbatical, like doing some like research paper and coming back and like changing the world. But again, surrounding myself with people who are doing what I want to do or doing things that I see that I need to emulate in order to get to the next step. Right. Or even being willing to fail. Because I've tried some things. Okay. Like even like the niche that we're in right now as a company, we weren't in this niche in 2020. In 2020, who we were really more focused on is working with privately owned medical practices. We were working with real estate developers. We were working with another group of people who I can't even remember right now because that's just where we're at. Do I have some of them on my client list still? Absolutely, because I even have I have some law firms. And, I still have my real estate developers working on some big projects. But my primary target now is the corporate event planners, is the trade show organizers. And that happened because I was willing to pivot because I was like, okay, well, there's a need in the market for it. Having conversations with people, primarily. So Lara Palker, she was a sponsor at a conference that I hosted in I want to say it was 2020. And she was just talking about it was for the graphic artist guild. So I'm a board member of the graphic artist guild. So that's the thing too. But she was talking about that there's like a significant need for graphic designers within the event industry because so many of the, seasoned graphic designers have either retired or have gone on to different types of industries because they no longer felt like the event industry was sustainable. Because I mean, it was really based on like the influx of in-person events and all the things that were needed, advertising things, advertising assets, on-site assets, signage, off-site, whatever the case may be. And they did not necessarily have the skill set to translate that same type of design to like an online digital space. So they were like, all right, we got to jump over here and pivot. But then the younger people, shout out to the younger people, they didn't necessarily have the professionalism that was necessary to function with quick turnaround attention to detail that the industry needed. But wait, me and my team, we got that. Right. So we gonna slide in here. All right. So the first client we got in that niche was the National Trade Show Alliance, which is Lara Palker's organization. And so we kind of like took that and ran with it. But again, that was being willing to pivot. Right. And understanding that the same skill sets that we were using in other industries could be applied here, and we could come in and kill it because everybody else is leaving. Go on ahead and leave. We'll stay in here and take it up. It's fine.
Right. That's so powerful. First and foremost, congrats. You know what I'm saying? You did that. That's very, very inspirational, I'm sure, for anyone who's listening and thinking about, one, going out on their own, or two, starting their own company, or three, if they're specifically in the graphic design world. So definitely big ups to you. But you definitely hit on a lot of good points, right? First and foremost, I don't believe in failure. I believe there's good and there's uncomfortable. And I believe that you can learn from all of those things and then use those as tools to get better, right? But the willingness to take those L's and bet on yourself, knowing that, look, you're not going to win in everything. It doesn't, I'm a trader. I don't win every trade, right? You focus on high probability things. If something works, you double down on it. If it don't work, you eliminate it, right? So very important, very powerful. Then you're talking about the niches, right? I love to say that the riches are in the niches, right? So the more laser focused you start to begin to be for your offerings and your services, then the more lasers you're going to be to your target market as well. They're going to specifically feel like you're talking to them and you are filling a void that they actually need. So now you're not really trying to sell them. You're just saying, hey, this is what I do for people who are like you. And they're like, wow, you do what I need for people like me, right? Yeah, and it just becomes like a match made in heaven. And then those also become actually great relationships and great client interactions, because it's not a tug and pull. It's not a pull and push. It's like, you're literally adding value in your gift and they actually need and want what you have, right? And so then the next level is identifying not only the target market, but the market that can actually afford your product and services, because you don't want to just be selling it just to get clients. You don't want to be selling it just to be like, hey, I got a business, I keep the lights on, and I'm generating revenue. Like, no, you definitely want to get to a level where you can have margins and you can actually have profits and you can actually enjoy what it is that you're doing, because I don't believe that you were created to work, pay bills, and die. And so you also talked about slightly a little bit of, work-life balance, right? Being able to close that laptop or close that computer and go out and enjoy the rest of life, because I've experienced this as, throughout my entrepreneurial journey of being burnt out at times, because you're going so hard on, manifesting this dream into reality that you don't end up even taking care of yourself, right? And so being able to, you've been doing that for so long, it's something that was already in your natural flow that I actually even had to learn and had to make time for myself, have to make time for, personal health or mental health, or taking a break and being like, yo, at some point you got to turn work off and actually enjoy life. And that's why I'm so big on lifestyle design. So, as we come into a close soon here, first and foremost, tell the people where they can find you on social media and around the internet, because I want to be able to make sure that, people can find you if they want. in general?
All right, so you can really find me on all the things. Yanni does stuff. YANI does stuff. So there are two S's in there. I know Dion is gonna put it in the show notes for me. And then if you want to like look up the design firm that I own, it's the YKMD on all the things. If you want to check out some of my artwork, you can go to Yanni Paints. YanniPaints.com, Yanni Paints and all the other things. And if you don't find me there, it's because I'm not there. So just holla at Yanni does stuff. And yeah, that's
Nice. So we're gonna do a little quick, let's call it a fire round. Ask
Dear
you some
God.
questions. You just give me right off the top. Okay. Give a little insight just on you and your character. So
Hope I can do it.
First question would be, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
Invisibility. Okay.
Sometimes I just want to
Invisibility.
disappear, man. Just leave me alone. Give me a break.
You just want to sit around and cook at what you want to do. I got you. Okay.
I mean, and also listen to people who have like more experience on things, like without them knowing I'm in the room. There's that too. But
yeah, you
invisibility
definitely
is
could
it.
learn a lot and go out and execute for sure. What are your top 3 favorite books and why?
Okay, so one, Lord, I can't. I remember his name. His name is Mike Michalowicz, and I can't remember. Oh, Profit First. So Profit First is one of my favorite books. Primarily because it changed my life and my outlook on like how I structured my business financially. The same way you were talking about like burning yourself out emotionally, there were times where my business was set up to burn me out financially, where I was constantly investing in the business and the business was not sustaining me, and that made no sense. So after reading that book, changed my life.
So super powerful. I literally just hired a new business manager about a month ago, and they're a Profit First specialist, and they literally have come in and revamped the whole thing. Yo, it definitely is life changing. So shout out to that book. Shout out to my business manager, Perry. Yo, it definitely, it's a game changer for business, for life, for personal, the whole nine. Yeah. Okay, that's a great one.
So second favorite is The 4 Agreements. So it's actually a book I read every year. I was introduced to it by a friend of mine. It was like really random. He was like, listen, have a book list, like check it out. And I was like, all right, cool. And even that book also like changed the way I looked at myself and how I was functioning like in environments, because it was just like, number one, I stopped blaming everybody else for my problems. And I tried to figure out like how I could show up differently in the world that would impact the way that I was thinking. And then how I showed up would affect how people were receiving me. So like that kind of thing, that's a big thing for me as well. Another book that, and I don't know if it's going to be like my favorite, but I'm actually reading it right now and it's been really impactful in a really like in this very, very short time. I'm only at chapter 6 and it has 11 chapters, but it is called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And I don't think I could have possibly, I don't know if I could have really appreciated the book until this year because of like all the adversity that was like jam packed into this year. And I didn't realize how much callousing my mind was a part of my everyday function. I just thought I was a naturally resilient person. And as I'm reading the book and reflecting on like how I've been functioning in my life, I realized, no, it was a skill set that was developed so that I could cope and function and move on. And, you know, these last few years have been about me adjusting myself in terms of like kind of like healing old wounds so I could move forward in a way, but still kind of like having that callus to push me forward, like not giving up on myself, understanding that like I can come up with this like cookie jar list of encouragement to kind of like push me to the next stage, just like the 100K month. Like it's great, but that's not where my pinnacle is going to be. That's just going to be like stepping stone to like the next thing. Like shout out to the $1 million month coming soon, you know? So like those are my three, I guess my 3 favorite books right now. You know, if you ask me in a year from now, that might change.
Yeah, nice. No, I've read 4 Agreements. I haven't read the last one, but definitely sounds impactful and powerful. And yeah, you know, sometimes we do it and we take it for granted, or we've been doing it for so long because we've come through, you know, so many different levels of adversity and culturally or background or in life in general for everybody. that, it's just another day, it's just another thing that we've overcome. But acknowledging those things and understanding that you can learn from those too, right? Because you
Yeah.
can learn how to avoid certain situations and you could learn how to get through certain situations faster, right? So very important. Okay, last two questions. So,
Okay. I have an overshare for you too when you're done. And I'm actually really proud of it.
okay. Okay, cool. So last two questions. So the one is, if you could say something to a young graphic designer or someone in your industry that is looking to do X in your industry, what would you say would probably be the most impactful thing that happened in your career?
All right. So X, by the way, is really broad. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in X, right? If you are one of two things, if you are a graphic designer looking to kickstart your career, if you are a graphic designer looking to, leave corporate America and start your own agency, both of those things, number one, shameless plug, join the Graphic Artists Guild. The Graphic Artists Guild is where I really learned the business of graphic design, right? Like, everybody's always really focused on the aesthetics. And even like when you leave school, they're focused on the aesthetics. And like, not even so much, even like when you have to like learn to use program school, whatever, like, YouTube University, not a big deal. But the business of graphic design is a whole nother beast. And like I said, having people around you who've done it before makes a difference. So the Graphic Artists Guild is a trade association that will help you along that journey. If you are a graphic designer who, just out of school, getting ready to start, like, don't know where to find the first job, have no idea what to do, your entire portfolio is what you did in school, I'm sorry to tell you that that portfolio, as pretty as it is, holds no real value because you're not able to tell anybody what the tangible results from your work is. So, and I get slack for this all the time, even from my Graphic Artists Guild people. But what I need you to do is reach out to somebody. Reach out to your I don't know. Reach out to 100 people who are your ideal clients. Like, decide what industry you want to work in, why you want to work for them, exactly who you want to work with. Reach out to 100 people. Just be like, hey, my name is John McJameson, and I went on your website and I noticed that, you don't have this. I'd be willing to redesign it for you. And if you like it, then you pay me. If you do a good job, they will pay you. Let's assume that everybody in the world is like not a douchebag and they're like not gonna like just take your work and skip you. Let's assume that, right? Let's assume everybody functions with integrity. You now have a paying client. But if that person did not pay you for your solution, you know what that means? You need to go back to the drawing board and work on your skills because your skills have not sharpened enough to actually justify someone paying for them.
Right. Powerful.
Then you can take that paid portfolio, and if you want, go get you a paying gig or start your own company, whatever works. But either way, if I were you, I'd join the Graphic Artists Guild.
Nice. Yeah, good stuff. Major gems right there. I love those. Love those. Okay, that was good. And then last question.
What?
If you could say
the last one.
No. I said two more. This is the last one. If you could say one thing to your 18-year-old self or your younger self, what would it be?
Man, 18 is real specific. I know you said younger, but I'm just going to stick with 18 because that one hit me. It's okay to be yourself. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's you're not going to be for everybody either. Live in your truth and be comfortable with who you are.
Wow, that's powerful. Yes, very, very, very powerful. Like, you could be anybody in the world, or you could be anything in the world. So choose to be yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's a very, very powerful thing for us to wrap on today. So first and foremost, I want to thank Yanique for joining us as our featured guest today on the Money Game podcast. Extremely grateful and honored to have you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And again, say bye to the Money Game family. Wow, that was a really good interview. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So as we will like to continue to have on the Money Game podcast, is we want to be able to add value to all of our listeners. So with that being said, we've had the opportunity for Yanique to create an affiliate link for us. So if you want to take care of or take advantage of any of her wonderful services, she's going to let you know exactly where you can go, and she's going to give you a discount just for being a Money Game listener. So, Yanique?
All right, you can head over to ykmd.info/moneygame. And I look forward to chatting with all of you.
Hey, love to hear it, love to see it. And thank you so much for that, Yanique, for doing that for the Money Game family. I really appreciate it. As always, we'll wrap it out, sending you guys some great energy, love, light, peace, wealth, great health, and abundance to each of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.